Once we've determined that the application is complete, the next step is selecting the level of review for the submission. If the application requires review at a full board meeting, you need to press the full board review action. Once the action is complete, the status of the submission will change to full board review, and the assign to meeting action will become available in the action menu. The next step is to assign the submission to a meeting that has already been created in advance. For instructions on how to create a meeting, please refer to the REB meetings video tutorial. After the meeting has taken place, the full board review process needs to be marked as complete using the Review Complete action. This will move the application to the next step of the REB workflow where the REB's decision can be recorded. To send an application down the delegated review pathway instead, you need to click the Delegated Review button once the application has been marked as complete. Submissions undergoing delegated review must have at least one individual assigned as the primary reviewer. There can be multiple primary reviewers, but only users who have been assigned as primary reviewer will have access to the complete review action to advance the submission to the next step of the workflow and record the REB's decision. Depending on your REB, it may be the chair who is required to be assigned as primary reviewer and press the complete review button. Once the complete review button has been used, the status of the form will change to Delegated Review Complete, and the decision buttons will appear in the action menu. Regardless of whether the submission undergoes full board or delegated review, once the full board or delegated review process has been marked as complete, the REB's decision needs to be recorded in the system. To do this, press the action button that corresponds with the REB's decision, whether that's acknowledge, approve, or send the application back for changes. There are actually 6 different decisions that REBs can select from, depending on the type of application that's being reviewed and the level of review that was selected for the submission. These decisions are described in detail in Section 3.1 of the Review Process User Manual available on the CTO website. In this example, we'll examine what happens when you select the Approve decision. Any application that the REB either approves or acknowledges must go through a step of the workflow called Categorize documents. During this step, the reviewers will confirm that each document on the form has the correct document category in the system. Each form document has a default category, which is determined by the question of the form that it was uploaded to. REBs can revise this status during this step if necessary, and this is important because only approved and acknowledged documents will appear on the approval or acknowledgement letter. Documents with the status of received will not appear on the REB letter. To categorize the documents for a submission, click the Categorize Documents button in the Action menu. A pop-up window will appear with all of the documents that have been uploaded to the form, along with the status. The status for any of the documents can be changed using the drop-down menu in the column Document Status, and then changing to a different status. Press the green Categorize Document button at the bottom of the pop-up window to complete the action. The status of the submission is now Approved Pathway Documents Categorized. The name of this status depends on whether the application has been either approved or acknowledged. On provincial initial applications, the next workflow step after categorized documents is setting the study-wide expiry date. Setting the expiry date is also done when processing a provincial continuing review application. To set the expiry date, click the Set Expiry Date button in the Action menu, and then use the date picker to select the expiry date. Once the date has been selected, press the green Set Expiry Date button at the bottom of the pop-up window to complete the action. Once the expiry date has been set, the status of the form will change to Approved Pathway Expiry Date Set, and the reviewer can proceed to drafting and sending the approval letter. If you accidentally input the wrong expiry date, you can easily correct it by following the steps in the video tutorial called Changing Expiry Date Status and Reissuing Approval Letter, which is on our website. Do not correct the expiry date manually within the approval letter, as this can have a ripple effect and cause the ethics approval at participating sites to lapse. Setting the study-wide expiry date occurs after the Categorize document step for the provincial initial application. But for post-approval applications, the archive document step is the next step in the workflow. This is because post-approval submissions may include a document that is replacing a previously approved or acknowledged document. Archiving previous versions of a document helps study teams to find the latest version of a study document using the Project Documents tab. Archiving a document does not mean that it will be deleted. It will remain available for download in the Documents tab of the Project Overview page. To archive a document, click the Archive Documents button in the Actions menu to bring up the Archive Documents pop-up window. Inside the window is a list of all of the documents for the center displayed in a table. The documents attached to the current submission are highlighted in yellow, while previously approved or acknowledged documents for the project are in gray or white. Using the checkboxes in the Archive column, archive any document that is being replaced by a new document on the current submission. A tip is to sort the table by document type to line up all of the documents of a particular type and more easily see which documents need to be archived. After selecting the documents, press the green Archive Documents button at the bottom of the pop-up window to complete the action. The final workflow steps after archiving documents are to draft and send the approval letter. To create a draft of the approval letter, we can click the Draft Approval Letter button in the Actions menu. A pop-up window will appear with the letter template visible inside of a text editor. You can edit the letter directly inside the text editor, and you can use the formatting options in the toolbar at the top. However, there are some limitations. For instance, when you paste text that you've copied from an external source, such as Microsoft Word, you may experience formatting issues or some of the text may be missing. If you do paste text into the letter, be sure to right-click on your mouse and use the Paste as Plain Text option to strip the formatting of the text that you're adding. Some information is automatically populated into the letter, such as the expiry date, document names, and version numbers or version dates. If you notice any of this information is incorrect, do not manually edit it within the letter. Instead, the document names, versions, or dates can be changed from the Documents tab on the Submission Timeline page, while the expiry date can be corrected by going to the Centers tab of the Project Overview page. We have a video tutorial with instructions on how to do this on the CTO website called Changing Expiry Date Status and Reissuing the Approval Letter. You can save a copy of the draft you're working on by pressing the Save button in the toolbar at the top, which looks like a computer disk icon. The saved draft can be reopened at any time by pressing the blue My Drafts button at the bottom of the pop-up window. Drafts saved in this manner are visible only to their author. Once you've finished editing the letter, press the green Draft Approval Letter button at the bottom of the pop-up window to advance the application to the next step of the workflow, Approval Letter Drafted. The drafted letter can be assigned to the chair for review before it is sent to the study team by pressing Letter Review Required. The chair will then determine if any changes are required to the letter or if it can be sent as is. This is an optional step of the workflow, which may or may not be required for your REB, depending on your SOPs. The last step of the workflow is sending the letter to the study team. Click the Send Approval Letter action in the Action menu, and then overwrite the template with the drafted letter by clicking the blue Existing button at the bottom of the pop-up window, selecting the drafted letter, and then clicking the Overwrite button to overwrite the template with your drafted letter. In some cases, the REB may elect not to create a draft first, and instead use the Send Approval Letter action to draft and send the letter. Finally, once the letter is ready to send, press the green Send Approval Letter button at the bottom of the pop-up window. Once the action has been performed, the study team will be notified by email that their application has been approved, and they'll be able to download the approval letter from the system. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions about CTO Stream or are having any technical issues, visit support.ctontario.ca to submit a Helpdesk ticket. You can visit ctontario.ca for more video tutorials, user guides, quick guides, and tip sheets.